Three stories about being misidentified by machines. Two actually happened, one didn't. But all three are about the same thing. What happens when a system decides you're not worth a second chance? Let's go.
As we go through each story, think about this. If an algorithm decides you're not good enough, who gets to prove you are? Let's get into it. If you're new, subscribe now. We do this every Monday. Two real, two truths, and a lie.
Perfect. And I will get the image up first. So we're going to jump right into our first story tonight. Am I the asshole? Facial recognition arrested me for a crime in another state. I got arrested at gunpoint at my own house. I'm 50 years old. I've lived in Tennessee my whole life. I've never been to North Dakota. I don't even know anyone in North Dakota. I have no criminal record and I've never been in trouble. And one day, US Marshals showed up at my door with a warrant. It was July 2025. I was babysitting my grandkids, my daughter had gone to work, and I was making lunch in my kitchen when there was a knock. Not a knock, a bang on my door. I opened it, and there were men in tactical gear. One of them had his gun had his hand on his gun. They said, "You need to come with us." I said, "For what?" They said, "Bank fraud, North Dakota." I was confused. I asked them to repeat that. Bank fraud in North Dakota? I've never been to North Dakota. They didn't answer. They just told me to put my hands behind my back. They handcuffed me in front of my grandkids. At the police station, they showed me the charges. 4 counts of unauthorized use of personal identifying information. 4 counts of theft. The crimes happened in April and May of 2025 in Fargo, North Dakota. I told them I was here in Tennessee. I have no idea what you're talking about. The officer explained the police department in Fargo had been investigating a string of bank fraud cases. Someone had used a fake army military ID to withdraw thousands of dollars from multiple banks. The person's face matched me, but only because of facial recognition software. The detective said, "Our facial recognition system flagged you as a match." I asked, "A match of to what?" That he said they had surveillance footage from the bank, and I had never been to that bank and I've never been to that state. The computer says you have. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't arrested because someone saw me at a bank. I was arrested because the computer thought I looked like someone who was at that bank. I spent 5 months in custody. 5 months. My daughter had to hire a lawyer. We had to fight to get me released. And the only thing that saved me was my own bank records, proof that I was in Tennessee when the crimes were happening in North Dakota. But here's what broke something in me. The police didn't verify those bank records before they arrested me. They didn't do their basic check. They got facial recognition match, and that was enough. A computer looked at a photo and said that was her. And the entire machinery of law moved to arrest me based on that one decision made by a machine. I asked my lawyer, what if I didn't have bank records? What if I couldn't prove where I was? And she said I'd probably still be in jail. So the computer's word is enough to arrest me, but my word wasn't enough to keep me free. That's how it works now. So 5 months, I missed my granddaughter's birthday. I missed Thanksgiving. I missed Christmas. My family fell apart. And it was because a computer got it wrong. So am I the asshole for being in a place that looks like a bank? Or is the system the asshole? So let me read this again. So am I the asshole for being in a place that, like a bank and getting and look like that person that was recorded? Or is the system the asshole for arresting me based on a computer match without a human ever looking at the photo and saying, wait, this doesn't look right? Well, I'm going to make one comment right off the bat. I feel like there is a bunch of stuff happening where the police are not doing their job. Because not only they're just straight up trusting AI and computer systems and then basing everything on it. So just like we talked about, There was the one case of the DNA where the cousin got the DNA test and sent it to, like, Ancestry or whatever, where they're supposed to tell you what it's
Mhm.
about, and then her cousin got arrested for a crime he didn't commit. Well, I actually was watching just on YouTube today, and an Inside Edition piece came up. It was a 4-minute piece of pretty much the same situation, but it was a son had done one of those DNAs, actually trying to find his father, because I guess he wanted to see if he could find his father, because obviously he had been separated from his father growing up. And they actually used that DNA sample. So whichever DNA company this son went to get his DNA assessed, that company literally matched the DNA for the that his father was this murderer per se. So they said they arrested him now or whatever. But I go, like, we're on this fine line where the people that are giving their DNA to these companies, they're not aware that that's going to come back to be used against themselves and people they're related to, right? And is it even correct? Because in the case we talked about, they were not the ones that, they found it to again prove they weren't in that area for that assault when that DNA, so the DNA matched with this cousin. But then it makes me wonder, what percentage do they look at within when they say it's a match, right? Because clearly that doesn't mean, like, the DNA was probably not 100% match. That's why they went with the cousin, right? So just like this with this image and the photo, what percentage is considered accurate, right? And then it leads me to another thought on learning how they diagnose cancer. And it's based again on abnormal cells of a certain number. So if you're just over that number or under, they can say you have cancer or not. So then we're getting into this fine, weird area of, okay, where do we stand here? Where do we stand?
Where's the line? Because it's, we've talked about this before in other circumstances that I'm not going to bring up, where it's like as soon as it crosses over that threshold, it's this or that. And that's what laws are laws are decided on, this side of the veil or that side of the veil. Like, what side are you covering? So
But being able to just literally go get a warrant and arrest just based on this AI identifying and not essentially having to prove that that person was in the area, that they didn't have to provide any other evidence. This AI matching her was enough evidence.
everything now is like, encountered it a lot, where it's, AI is like the first line of like detection, and it's usually incorrect. But they're just like, oh well, there's nothing better going on in society these days, so let's throw the firewall, the whitelist of AI, and inspect everything to see if we can find a problem, and then you get all these false positives or whatever, because it's like, oh well, you matched three questionable areas, and generally if it was a human looking at it, it wouldn't be a problem because AI looked at it. Oh, it's close enough, and we're just gonna flag you for no reason. And then, like, it's just
And well, you know what's interesting? When I was doing research on this, I actually came across a statistic where statistically it also seems to have a racial bias. So it was like more often when somebody that was not white would be misidentified more than somebody who was white. But they were still wrong, and it would still misidentify somebody of Caucasian white that looked white could still be misidentified, but statistically other cultures were misidentified. So it's like, does AI have also like a racial facial blindness, right? And so you're like, oh, like OMG, that's all I can say. OMG. But I'm
yep.
gonna say she definitely was not the asshole. Like, how do you know that? We're gonna change your face? Like, now you hope you don't have somebody who's a doppelganger and is gonna go do crimes on your behalf. Because again, I've heard stories like that as well, where somebody got arrested for, this is another story I'd come across. He got arrested for a crime he says he never committed. He's in jail, whatever, starts making buddies. And then one day in jail, his buddy's like, why were you such an a-hole to me? And they're talking about, he's like, I wasn't there. You didn't have this conversation with me. To find out his doppelganger, who actually committed the crime, was now in the same jail as him. And he eventually got out because they were able to provide evidence that this guy who looked like this guy was that other person, was innocent. Like, holy, that's already a thing that exists. Now it's even scarier because AI is just going to find you a doppelganger from another country or something. If as soon as you have digital ID and your face is in that system that they can go categorize against, we're all open to that, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's scary,
Yeah, yeah. So
Over
any thoughts?
reliance on technology is scary, and then when it's like, how much is it pushing, right? Like,
Exactly,
we wouldn't
exactly.
typically have these issues, but since it pushes and prods, and you know,
Well, what's interesting, another side note before we go to the kind of the sub of this, I did find, and we're going to talk about this in our Honestly Though news astrology show this week, but I came across an ad which was from the government of the US government wanting to teach you about artificial intelligence. And so it sends you like a 5-minute thing where it asks you some questions, teaches you some stuff about AI, and I've been going through it. It's actually really interesting and very, very enlightening. And based on that, technically these government officials and agencies are not following their own thing in the outline that they're talking about in this US course, because they're always talking about you need to still do your due diligence. It looks for patterns, it looks for that, but who's actually at fault? Well, you're at fault if you didn't double check that that was actually real, whatever it produced, right? So I find that kind of interestingly ironic with these type of stories that we've had a lot of where there's not that due diligence on the human end happening. And we've seen that with people being censored from platforms as well, right? The AI makes this decision, and then you're fighting months, years, if ever, to get a human to even discuss if there's a possibility for you to come back, be unbanned, or whatever, right?
it's like, so there's no humans deciding the final check. We're
Ex-
at that point right now where it's like, that's the whole reason there's all these layoffs. AI is replacing them, but I'm like, it can't, because there's no quality control.
Exactly, exactly.
And we're just going to
So,
actually end up with more societal and systematic issues when there's no human who's intelligent who had that position before the AI took their position. Because if you lay people off and put AI in that position, and the person double checking them wasn't actually in that, you know, auditing trail before, like, it's gonna,
well, it's this
and it's
interesting
only
thing. It's
2026.
we're giving way too much like authority to a technology. There should be, like, as I said, even with like people getting banned off of YouTube and stuff, it should be something that the AI finds something that is suspicious, and then it's to a team of humans to investigate. That is actually how this should be running, and it's not being ran appropriately. So we'll see how this all rolls out as we continue. But I want to shout out to our regular viewer, Mind Mystique. Thanks for joining us. And let me put in the chat as we go through, just to remember, as we're going through the stories, are they real or fake? One of these stories tonight is a fake story. But the overall sentiment, just jumping back to this poor lady that was unjustly arrested and never actually did the crime, is of course Reddit. She was not the asshole. She didn't do anything wrong. She was at home. The system failed. It wasn't on her. And then it's interesting because people could make comments about the police should have verified before arresting, like we were talking about. But we also live in a world where this technology exists, and people do need to understand this technology. That's why, like, giving your biometrics, your DNA to things, like, you need to be aware anything you give any company, you no longer have rights to it. You've given it to them, you've signed it away, whether you pay them or not, they get the rights for that. Are you distracted, Mike? Are you watching us on the
I'm not distracted. No, it was like things aren't working on this end, so don't worry about me. I'm still here.
Okay, I just wanted to see. I was like,
I was
did you
like, what's going
freeze?
on?
Like,
I'm like, what's going on over here? And I was like, really? Okay, great. Smiley.
production. Production. Okay. So, anyways, the top comments. It's already happening. Multiple people have actually have been arrested this way. It's scary part is nobody's fixing it. It doesn't seem to be a priority, and we can see that based on the fact that they're not doing their extra due diligence, right? So, Mike, any thoughts on that? Besides, I believe that she's not an asshole.
I don't even know how she could be even labeled the asshole.
Maybe you are the asshole because you should have, like, literally just got prosthetics and did your makeup up so you look like a different person every time you leave,
Well,
every
no,
time you
but
try to leave.
we've you know what, you brought that up. We've already discussed this before, where really that's the only way to trick. If AI or surveillance are going to match you to somebody else's face, the only way to not be identified is literally facial, like makeup, prosthetics, and wear masks everywhere.
I don't wanna make it like a joke, but it's not really kind of a joke at this point. You're like, especially if you find out that you look like other people, or you could somehow there's a look that hits that you could be misrecognized for a lot of people is even worse. I'm sure there's probably some people that maybe have a lot of features that hit the average, and then you're, like, always, coming up as a suspect, right? Like, good
How
times.
many doppelgangers do you have in real life, huh?
Exactly, exactly. How many doppelgangers, right? Or the person that put the
I don't know if
prosthetic
I've
on
ever
just
met a
so they look like
doppelganger
you.
of mine. I don't know if I've ever met a doppelganger of mine, but we know we've seen doppelgangers before. So this is
Yes, we have.
interesting.
We have, and I have actually had people approach me talking to me like they knew me, and I'm going, I'm not sure, like, "You look just like them." So clearly, I do have a doppelganger somewhere, but, it's hard, and I also wonder if you'd even recognize your own doppelganger, or if it'd be like this, like, confusion for a moment
Oh, you're
before.
just saying if I meet somebody and I'm like, you look like the celebrity, that's an easy way to identify it because they're not in the same room. And you're just
Yeah.
like, wow, that's such a look.
Well, it's funny, all I can think of celebrities could totally do if they're like, "Oh, are you this?" I'd be like, "No, I'm not," but I always get told that all the time. It's such a good way you could hide that you're a celebrity by pretending to be a doppelganger of yourself, right? Okay, let's go to the second story because we got 2 more stories to get through. Am I the asshole? LinkedIn's algorithms buried my career. I've had 7 jobs in 12 years. Not because I'm flaky, because I've been chasing growth. I've learned a skill, mastered it, then moved to the next opportunity. That's how you advance in tech. And that's what everyone tells you to do. My LinkedIn profile shows the progression: junior developer, senior developer, tech lead, manager, senior manager, 7 companies, 12 years. Steady upward movement. I applied for a director level position at a Fortune 500 company in March 2025. It was the role I'd been working towards my entire career. Dream job, right salary, right level. I got 0 interviews. So I applied to another director role, nothing. I applied to senior management roles I was overqualified for, nothing. I applied for 247 jobs over 3 months using LinkedIn's application feature, 2 interview requests, 2. Out of the 247 applications, I got 2 interviews. One rejected me immediately, one ghosted me. I was getting desperate. So I asked a recruiter friend what was wrong. She said, "Can I be honest?" I said, "Please." She said, "Your profile is flagged." I said, "Flagged for what?" She said LinkedIn's algorithms tag frequent job changers as flight risks. It basically shadow bans you from recruiter searches. When a recruiter looks for candidates, your profile gets buried. It's still there, but it's like way down the line, right? I said, "Are you serious?" She said, "Check your visibility settings. I bet it's terrible." I checked and my profile views had dropped 80% over the last 6 months. Before I started job hunting, I was getting 100 plus profile views per week. Now I was getting 10. I asked LinkedIn about it, called their support line. The representative said our algorithms analyze career patterns to predict employee retention. Frequent job changes indicate lower retention probability. This helps companies hire more stable employees. But I said I'm not applying for to entry level positions. I'm applying for director roles. The kind of people who get director roles will often change companies. She said the algorithm doesn't differentiate. It flags all frequent job changers equally. So I said, so the algorithm is literally preventing me from being seen by recruiters because of my career history. She says the algorithms optimize for companies' retention outcomes. I said, who programs this? Who decides that changing jobs 7 times in 12 years should bury my profile? She said it's an automated system. The algorithm was trained on historical hiring data. So I said, so historical bias is baked into the algorithm. She said, we have policies against biased. I said, your policy is literally burying me because I've worked at 7 companies. She said she understood my frustration. So anyways, Representative essentially I said, because I can't get a job because the machine decided I'm not worth showing to recruiters. And I have no way to appeal, no way to fix it. I just have to do what? The representative had no answer. I ended up taking a lateral move at a smaller company, not a direct role, not one I wanted, or what I thought I should have earned. And that's all because LinkedIn's algorithm decided I changed my jobs too many times. So, am I the asshole for advancing my career, or is LinkedIn the asshole for using an algorithm to penalize people for having ambitious career trajectories?
Not surprising. Not surprising at all.
Unfortunately, when you're changing jobs, and like that's not even averaging 2 years per job, right? So you're not even averaging 2 years per job. That does make you less appealing. People don't want to spend, because I remember when I worked in corporate, when I was a banker, I knew how much it was to train somebody because I would hire for the front line. All the effort and time to train, if they didn't stay, it's just lost money, lost income, and then redoing it again, right? Now, of course, you can never guarantee people are going to stay, but if the algorithms are seeing a historical demonstration of it, that's going to be used against you.
And we have to realize that LinkedIn is not the only place you can apply for jobs. It's one.
Exactly.
It's one platform, and guess what? Microsoft owns it, so it's not LinkedIn anymore. It is Microsoft.
Mhm.
So this is the whole thing where it's nice to be on multiple platforms looking for jobs, and because not every job you're going to get in your life is going to be from LinkedIn. I know a lot of people love it, but I'm thinking this story made me think of like, how does my profile show up? Because literally I've been self-employed for 21 years, and every like year I go and say, hey, I've added specialty to my role, my existing role, and it's like, oh, I probably should. This would make sense for me. I'm like, I know I still get views because we stream these videos to LinkedIn, so I still get views over there. But it's not like I'm applying through jobs through LinkedIn. But it's like, man, I'd be shadow banned.
Well, hey, weren't you told today that you must be unemployed? So, now
Based on my social media presence, I must be unemployed. And I'm like, what are you talking about? How could I be unemployed? Because I'm literally promoting my business.
well,
Okay.
I'm gonna say technically you have been unemployed working for other people. So you have not worked for somebody beside yourself for over 20 years. The last time you had a job where somebody was
That's
your
what
boss
I'm
was
saying.
20 years ago. Was 20 years ago. So
Probably
I
should.
guess you're technically unemployed, okay?
Self-employed. Self-employed.
Hey, but you're unemployed to the
Contract.
system.
Hey, somebody says that to me, and then I get a call from Maryland today in the US saying, hey, you want to do some like contractor jobs? And I was like,
Yeah, this you
based on the
unemployed
new
bum,
based
get
on our
to get
based on
to
our
work.
based on our thing yesterday, I was like, you know what? I'm open to communication and conversation with whomever
Yeah, come
reaches
on.
out to me.
You're really just an unemployed bum. Shh. So, anyways, I guess
Professional
how do you
consultants who
think
will
that
solve your problems.
do you think that they're the a-hole? Are they the a-hole for updating? Because there was comments that I know some of the comments in the Reddit is that they have an ambitious career. You do get the algorithms did penalize you, but you can they did bring up the point as well that you can use other platforms and maybe that would have been a good thing besides only using one, right?
I never say just use one platform. Use multiples and just it.
Be a I guess we
Aren't you
have to
supposed
all
to? Aren't you supposed to update your resume every time there's a job change or you have a role change? So they're not the asshole because they're like, oh well, I got a lateral. Like it's like when you were in banking, you went from like um
frontline staff to
you were being moved like 6 to 9 months. Like they were doing when the bank was growing quick, they were moving people laterally. They're like, hey, you got 6 months experience, we're gonna move you to this. But that was maybe before so much reliance on LinkedIn and algorithms.
Well, and I didn't change jobs. I didn't change companies. So I
No,
might have
I
changed
understand that,
roles.
but that would be
And
the same
so
thing. It'd be
this
similar saying, "Hey,
it
I've
would
got a
it
new
would
role."
be it would be similar, but,
'Cause
the algorithms are gonna read that you changed the whole
exactly, we're
company,
relying
right?
on AI to make a decision that actually makes sense and is not hallucinated.
Well, and to be, on the other end of that, as somebody hiring and them not staying more than 2 years in a role isn't really appealing. It really isn't, unfortunately. Like, if you're hiring somebody and you're on that end and you see that they would be literally, like, especially if they put it in that they're changing, yes, they might be advancing, but it does make you realize that how long will they really stay? Right? Till they want the next job or looking for that next opportunity, and how much are you willing to pay for that? So that is a valid point. So I don't know, do you say that they're the asshole or not the asshole? What is your final verdict?
I'm just gonna just put it right here. I'm streaming to LinkedIn right now. LinkedIn, you are the asshole.
So,
I'm there,
well, the
but I'm not gonna
way
use it to apply for jobs.
the person is not the asshole, LinkedIn is. And that was the verdict.
Algorithms.
The verdict was not the asshole, was the overall verdict in Reddit. And like I said, it was you have an ambitious career, the algorithm penalized you for it, and it's not your fault. There was a little bit of soft, you are the asshole, because the algorithm is brutal, but you could have
And
created
you
maybe a
should
different.
know how bad it is before you use it, and before you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go apply for 247 jobs." That's a lot of effort.
Yeah, kind of. Exactly, exactly. Like, you could have used a recruiter or tried another platform. That's what other
I
people were
don't even
saying.
know what good ones are that there are out there. So
I don't
anyway,
know, Jobs, Monster, do those things
I
still
don't even think
exist?
they
I don't know
exist
the last
anymore.
time I went looking for a job. I
Precisely.
realize I have not done that in a while. And then, there was some comments that both were the assholes. LinkedIn shouldn't shadow ban, but the tech industry has always been about who you know. So, there is some of that, or, what you know. Who do you
Well,
know as well?
that's what I'm saying. Is I'm like generally it's for like I don't know. Maybe I'm just completely out of touch with what LinkedIn's actually for these days. Maybe people just land new jobs through it.
Yeah. Well, you never really used it for a platform to find jobs per se. You never did really, right? So that was never a use that you used it.
People,
But
literally, people I meet, if they say they're nowheres, but they just love LinkedIn, I'm like, I'll connect with you over on LinkedIn, but you must be in such so in love with being a salaried employee. That's the only place you are.
I don't know. I don't even spend enough time. I don't even know. I think I opened a LinkedIn. I don't even know if I've ever opened a
I
LinkedIn
don't know
because
if
I
we
never did.
finished one for you. I think it was opened, and then we're just like, do we really want to use this? 'Cause it's
I was
Microsoft, and
abandoned.
we were having a conversation about Microsoft right before this, and I was like, remember, there's a reason you don't
Yes,
use
yes.
Microsoft
I
Word anymore.
exactly, exactly. So I know there was some reason I didn't finish
Don't have
through there.
a
But the top comment is this if this is okay. It's terrifying and it could and it's real, right? You should the algorithms shouldn't technically ban you, but the people that are using the company like the LinkedIn to hire and recruit, they want good quality people, right? That's what they're going to look for. And the algorithms are going to try to find them the most quality person, and if you're switching jobs more than the average of 2 years, right? So it's less than 2 years at them is not gonna look good, unfortunately, right? So that is story number 2. So remember that, keep that in mind, and let's get into our final story and if this is real or fake. And the views went down, Mike, so all the people on LinkedIn stopped watching you.
I know.
Okay, which one am I at for? There we go.
Oh, people,
Perfect.
yeah,
Okay.
people don't like we're making fun of LinkedIn. So
You're gone. You've been banned now.
whatever.
Okay. Story number 3. Am I the asshole? The algorithm deactivated me without reason. I got notification at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday. Your account has had been deactivated. You are no longer eligible to drive. No explanation, no warning, just gone. I'm a single mother. I drive for Uber and DoorDash. That's how I pay for my rent, food, and I'm able to then pick up my kids. The gig work is the only flexibility I have. I can work when my kids are at school, pick them up at 3, have my evenings with them. And in one notification, it was all gone. I called Uber immediately. The first representative said, "Your account has been deactivated for fraudulent documentation." I said, "What documentation?" She said, "Your driver's license." I said, "My driver's license is real. I use it every day." She said, "You submitted a temporary license. We flagged it as fraudulent." I explained my temporary license is real. I got it from the Secretary of State's website. It's official. She said, "Our AI system flagged it as fake." I said, "Well, it's not fake. Can I appeal?" She said, "You can submit an appeal electronically. Someone will review it in 24 to 72 hours." So I appeal. I submitted my temporary license again with additional documentation. 72 hours later, denied. I called back. A different representative answered. I explained the situation again. She said, "The AI system flagged it as fraudulent. Until a human reviews it, we can't reactivate you." I said, "So when will a human review it?" She said, "Resubmit your appeal. Someone will look at it." I resubmitted another 72 hours, denied again. This went on for 3 months. 3 months. I couldn't work. I couldn't pay my car note. I couldn't pay my rent on time. My kids' school called asking why I wasn't picking them up from aftercare. I had to leave them there while I worked at a different job, one that didn't have flexibility around school hours. The representative said, "There's nothing I can do. The system flagged you." I said, "But it's not fraudulent. Can't you just look at my license and see that it's real?" She said, "I don't have access to override the system." 3 months of being locked out of my only income while a machine decided I was a criminal and no human would actually look at my face and say, "Wait, this is real." I lost my apartment. I moved in with my sister. Then a local news station did a story on me about how Uber's algorithm had deactivated me and I couldn't get reactivated. The story aired, and suddenly, just like when people have bank problems and can't get their money out of the bank, their account was restored. You are eligible to drive again. No explanation for why it took the news story to fix what should have been a simple human review. I asked the new representative what changed. He said, "Your documentation was reviewed and approved." But nothing had changed. My documentation was the same. The only thing that changed was public attention. Which means for 3 months, a human could have looked at my license and approved it. They just didn't. The system flagged me, and it wasn't worth the human's time until the news got involved. So, am I the asshole for using a temporary license, or is Uber the asshole for hiding behind the algorithm and refusing to let human actually look at whether I'm real?
Again with these algorithms.
There's definitely a trend. Definitely a freaking trend. Like,
All I
and
can think
it's
of
like
is you're outside.
sorry?
All I can think of is you're outside your home postal code.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And
It
I
was
have to
one.
override. I have to whitelist it. It is only good for I can only override it for 30 days. You're like,
And this was Mike is talking about what happened to us because we're not in our home province and we wanted to use points we had on a card. And I got locked out of it and it wouldn't work. And I called them asking why I can't, to find out because I'm out of my postal code. So that would be like your zip code in the US, our postal code. So they had to go in the back, and the first every time I get, "Oh, they can't do anything. In like 24 to 48 hours, someone will respond." But I wouldn't ever give it up. So I had to call I think 3 times I ended up calling them. And every time I'm like, "Well, I want to talk to a supervisor." And they were able to whitelist me. And by the last time they were able to give me,
whitelist.
yeah, so
Whitelist.
that, because the AI is just gonna reject you after these 30 days, and I'm like, "This is insane that these are my points, and I literally have to fight to use these points. I'm not in a different country trying to use these things. It's the same company, just in a different province." And it really is insane that AI, like we were talking about in that first story, And the algorithm, the controls, like how much this can be detrimental to people's lives, end up in jail, can't get a job, freaking lose your job. These things are happening. That's what's really awful is these things are happening as people are losing their jobs to AI, but AI can't make the right decision and can't, it's fraud, it's temporary, it's fraud, it's temporary. And then is it the company's too cheap or too lazy to have a human actually there?
Did they even have any humans?
Well,
I'm
somebody had to
assuming she got reactivated because the human that was supposed to reactivate her has been laid off, and there was enough pressure because she let it on the news that some humans like, oh, that's just that button to flick on to reactivate her.
well, I think it's somebody, in the back end going, "This is really bad publicity. You better go and fix this." And why don't we have a human on the back end? I would hope that that's the outcome, but I don't know because if we see another story like that, then clearly they're not gonna fix it. And it's gonna be but then we've also had all these stories, like, with banks, and I've multiple different banks and just, like, weird things of, like, not giving people their payouts or insurance companies, and then once news is on it, magically, that
As
person could
always,
sign the check. Oh, suddenly those papers are perfect,
because
right?
there's eyeballs, there's attention on it. When it's
It's the squeaky wheel wins. Like, and that's what I really hate is that in fairness, I will complain about like I bitch or you'll say you bitch too much. Well, the reality is if I don't bitch about these things and you don't hold them accountable, you don't win. It screws you over. If you're not the person to stand up for yourself against these things, no one else will. Like clearly AI is and the people behind it, they're just employees, right? I can't go and verify that and make sure that's a proper ID. So I'm gonna say that she's not an asshole myself. I don't know what your sentiment on that is or any other, but one thing I do wanna before you put out your answer, this is the problem with us being re what? What were you gonna say?
like just on the tip of my tongue is like, but let me
No, if
continue.
you got it, okay, then
Because I don't
go,
even. I'm gonna forget what I was gonna say.
Did
So
you
it
already
doesn't maybe.
Sorry. Now I forgot what I was gonna say because now
Okay,
you
okay,
just
no,
got
no, no, no,
me.
I remembered. Normally, um, when you have to upload documents,
Yeah.
obviously we don't know this example. There may have been a rule: no temporary driver's license. We have no idea. She uploaded it. She was approved until she was approved until they decided to run an AI algorithm across all of the driver's licenses to find out that one was like hers was a temporary one versus being you know so she was obviously approved originally until they ran AI after the fact, right? um I know when like doing business like we do in foreign countries where it's like I have to come up with documents, like there's clear um not like that, not like I've been approved and then denied, but there's usually like clear upload instructions, and it's
Yeah.
like it's gonna be rejected unless it looks perfect. But now they have but now they have
Well,
new
and that's
ones.
a very fair comment. From what it sounds like in the story is she did it multiple times.
I know because I was recently rejected by Amazon for online store, but there's no answer. They'll say, "Oh, we'll review it in X amount of days or weeks, and we'll get back to you." And it's like, but you didn't even tell me what's wrong with my document, so I have no idea. Or that, so I was like, okay, whatever. I guess I'm
Well,
not
that
even going to
you've
look at
heard
this
I've
again.
heard stories like that with YouTube channels where people just get told they're, demonetized and they don't necessarily get any they're not told what. They might be able to fight it, and that's about it, but they're not given any kind
I had that conversation with one of our students today about music, and I'm like,
Mhm.
you're gonna learn. So get what you want, and if and if it's copyrighted, get permission, and then we'll see how long it takes you. A year, 6 years, it may get flagged. You may have to fight it, but as long as you're okay with fighting it and appealing, then proceed.
Yes, because even when you pay for the rights for things does not mean you can. Because I do have a problem video I made, which is my I am meditation video, which now gets flagged anytime I load it up, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, because somebody has copyrighted the imagery I use, which I actually had rights for through using it from Canva.
Doesn't
So,
matter. Those rights
well,
are over.
well, it doesn't matter. It does matter because if I fight it, I win every time. I just have to tell them I made it in Canva, and magically, in less than a day, the restrictions are removed. So whoever this is, maybe they sold it temporary or gave it to Canva, and now they're going back saying we want to claim on like double dipping because it would have made money when they sold those images to Canva, and now the rights are over, and now they're going after creators that would have used those
So
images. So
I
it
want
makes
to.
me wonder.
So with these improper document, with this improper document, how often do you think that realistically happens in a system like that? Because I know with Uber or any, like, you're gonna have to have, um obviously you're still gonna have to like approve, provide updated. They're gonna have a system that tells you your driver's license is about to expire and your vehicle registration is
Yes,
about to
yeah,
expire. And I know we have a friend who drives Uber. He had to switch his plates, so even though he was originally validated and legal to do Uber in California, after X amount of time in Florida, still under everything with California, it was like, no, all your plates and your registration must now be in Florida, or you can no longer continue to drive. So that he had to update that stuff, right? So they are doing a check at some point to see, they know when it's going to expire.
well, and I think with him too, like, if everything was in California and then you're suddenly doing a bunch of Ubers in a different
Oh,
state for oh, well, and I know in Canada, don't know it's the same in the US, but after 3 months in one area, technically you need to switch over that you live there. That would be how that might be perceived because it's usually within 3 months of you being somewhere,
well,
you would then do that,
plus you
right?
need to make sure you like your coverage is what,
Exactly.
Uber wants you to have particular coverage in whatever particular state you're doing it, et cetera, et cetera. It's like us driving our
Exactly.
vehicle between
So
US and Canada. I know I can have it in the US, but it also needs to come back to Canada to reset that, particular
exactly,
details.
exactly, 'cause we don't live in the US, right? And that's actually the truth. We kinda don't live
So
anywhere, it's really our truth.
with this,
But on that, would you say that they're the asshole, or did you have another question on that?
I know one of them. I don't even think this person could be. She knows she upgraded it. I don't think she's an asshole because she would have provided ID. And if they had a rule at that particular point, you couldn't use a temporary license, it should have been rejected. She should have been rejected when she first uploaded her license. But then that's proving there's no human reviewing it, or the rules changed, or the terms of
Yeah.
agreement changed while she was doing so how could all
Well,
three of them, I don't.
I guess my only comment would be, like, instead of having this temporary, why didn't she get, like, a permanent,
Well, because
right?
obviously she needed a job and she applied, and I know some places you go, like Dubai, you could just walk in, pay your money, and you got a plastic card printed in 20 minutes. And if this is in America, some states I'm assuming are super old fashioned. You go in and go to the DMV or whatever, pay, and you're waiting weeks for your plastic card to show up in the mail. She said
Well,
she got it off the website, so it would have been.
yes. Would have been, like, a paper one, which I'm assuming is in bet while she's waiting for
I'm saying
one.
she got approved with the temporary, and it's
Yeah,
only when they
exactly.
did an AI audit saying, "Oh," and it's not that.
Well, I guess we're assuming that because what if she did have a valid license and then like, licenses expire, like, we get ours for 5
Well,
years, then you have to renew it, and then what if she only had a temporary during this renewal, so we don't really know that, but I do
I'm just
find it
saying,
really
I'm like, I feel
suspicious.
like she's being penalized because they randomly AI went wild, and it's not like they said, "Hey, it expired." It was like, "Oh, it
Yeah.
was flagged," and then they could never fix it. So it's like she was
Yeah,
double flagged. So she was double flagged because even
she
if she
was.
uploaded an image of the real one, it's the AI system is broken because it's like, "Oh, well, just because you were flagged, we're not going to accept anything valid." Like, it's bullshit.
I
Rage
love
against the machine.
there you go, exactly, Rage Against the Machine, come on, AI is gonna solve all our problems, people, you can tell by these
The
stories.
quality is there. I can feel it.
Totally, totally. And that's what you also learn by doing the government of US AI course that I'm on. I'm just saying, good things. So the verdict on Reddit was that, of course, she was not the asshole. You used the legitimate document. The algorithm was wrong. That's not your fault. Uber's system failed, but you could have demanded, speaking to a supervisor. People suggested suing. I don't even know if that's doable because you have to have money to sue. And if you're working
I
for
don't have
Uber,
money to
I
do
doubt you
everything.
have
If
money.
she had money, she wouldn't be driving Uber. Come on,
I
people.
assume so. So I don't know how you're going to sue unless you get one of those lawyers that thinks your case is so
And I
good and
hear
get
that
it to a court.
people don't even want to drive Uber anymore because the price of fuel is so high that it's not even worth it unless you could do like driving 12 hours a day.
Yeah. So the top comments is this is already happening again, and the only reason hers got fixed is because the news cared, because the news really, and that somebody cared and put the spotlight and the pressure on the company. Most people don't even have that, or it doesn't happen that way, right? So those are our three stories. Why don't you summarize those up, Mike?
Okay, so story one. Am I just reviewing the stories then?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. So you
story one.
yes. Good.
Facial recognition arrested me for a crime in another state. Story two. LinkedIn's algorithm buried my career. And story three. The algorithm deactivated me without reason. That was the driver's license one we just went over. Lock it in. If you're new, subscribe now. We do this every Monday.
And put your guesses in the comments or in the live chat. We'd like to know what your guess is. And Mike, what is your guess? Which one are you going to guess is
Which one do I think is a lie? I really hope it's the LinkedIn one because like I don't know. It's like three algorithm stories or like AI type.
okay? Don't mind me. I've got a mosquito haunting me at
That's
this
okay.
moment.
The mosquitoes are
If
bugging
in
me.
case I look crazy, everybody, what am I doing? It's a mosquito.
It's warm today, so there's definitely bugs out. I don't know. I hope you know what for everybody watching and everybody using LinkedIn. I hope number two is the lie, but
That's your lock it in. Lock it in number two.
locking
Any
it into.
guesses? Lock it in two. Okay. Well, why don't you do the drum roll and I will bring
I'm
up
doing
the
the drum roll.
answers.
Can't you hear the drum roll?
Yeah, I can hear it. And the fake story was story number 2. It was the LinkedIn one.
Ooh. Okay,
It
that makes
does
me
use
feel better about LinkedIn.
it does use the algorithms and it does promote. And I actually saw a commercial, I think it was just like 2 days ago, which is about getting the most aligned employees for you. So I don't doubt that this is possibly true and can be happening on a smaller level, that people are kind of, if you're job if a company's looking for something and you don't fit it because they're like, we want somebody who's been staying for at least 3 years or 5 years at a place. You could definitely be losing opportunities because of that. I think it's very real.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know. It's yeah, it's these stories. I don't know. I like AI sometimes.
Yeah,
Some of these
gotta
are just like
sometimes.
it is, but it just our experience with it, and it's just like because everything's computers, everything's computers, everything's computers. Guess why my truck failed prematurely? Because the computer wasn't running the right code and overheated the transmission. So how can that's like off topic completely, but our lives are run by computers. They're run by code, and I think really this is the whole point of this is that we embrace it but we don't even know the limits of the whole like the impact on humanity,
Yeah.
right? Because it's just going to get worse. It's going to be like, hey, do this, do that, like everything. Use AI, but everything can detect AI. But then it can also stop you from getting a job. It can stop
Yeah.
you from turning your vehicle. At what point does it stop you from turning that ignition on in your vehicle?
Well, they're talking about that. They're talking about it being able to make decisions. There was
Well,
a video.
didn't they already legislate the kill switch for like
Well,
20?
they exactly, and it's already happening in places because there was somebody that was reporting they had rented a car. I don't know where they were. They rented a car, and they got a message that the car started to slow down as they were getting onto an on-ramp to merge onto a freeway, and their car's slowing down and giving them a message that it couldn't see their eyes. And she's like, "What the hell?" So, because she obviously just started slouching or whatever. So, because she's not very tall, she sits up and then able to let her drive. And she's like, "That is so dangerous."
Sounds like
Like,
China.
it's so dangerous that it's making this call, like, now it's judging how I sit, so if I'm not sitting up and and it needs to see my face, like, that is actually terrifying. She's like, "What if I was trying to merge and it did it, and then there was, like, a semi that couldn't?"
Oh, don't be sleeping while the autonomous cars driving you
He
around.
wasn't sleeping. Don't you be short and not be able to look at that certain thing. Like, these things are not helpful, and that was why, like, with that Inside Edition and them bragging about finding this cold case, but using DNA that his son had submitted to an ancestry website to find out their genetics is so questionable, because I bet just the son doesn't know, just like that cousin from last week wouldn't know it would put their cousin at risk in the future, right? Like, it is really insane what type of power the system is giving to technology. And that is, I think, the most disconcerting thing is, like, we cannot remove humans. We need human oversight. These cannot be decisions made by AI and then humans are fighting backwards trying to get a human to go fix, right? Like, fighting with AI because you're having, because who knows if this person with the Uber ever was even dealing with a human. Every time they were interacting, was it some kind of AI, whether it was a phone AI, because they do a really good job mimicking humans there. They do a good job mimicking humans on the text or whatever. So, was she just getting the runaround from AI saying, "Oh, we'll have a human review it," but it's the AI reviewing itself in a circle jerk, right?
Pretty much.
Hmm. So, why don't before we leave, we want to let everybody know about the services and things that we do promote and have available for you to go through this interesting time. Why don't you do a little summary, Mike?
All right. Well, we got the images up on the screen right now. So, the June 2026 Ground Your Expansion Divine Timing Guide is available at breathewithinyoga.com. So is the Stay Oriented guide that is right next to it on your screen. The Stay Oriented guide is a 6-month navigation guide from March to August 2026. Right now, it's 50% off. So you go to breathewithinyoga.com, go to the digital
Download. Digital
exact
downloads and products.
digital
Products.
products. The products word is what I was missing from my vocabulary. And the summary is right there. Just go to the website, see the summary. The next card we have up is the Awaken Light, our astrology and numerology ecosystem, the app that we've been building. We're still looking for beta testers, soon to be released, but we want variety of astrological signs using our beta app, just so we can verify everything makes sense. So we're on the finishing touches of that right now, and we have a new course launching tomorrow. It's Tuesdays, right? Celestial Alignment Journey, a 4-week experience. So that starts Tuesday, June 2nd, runs 4 Tuesdays in a row, 90-minute
90 minutes, somatic, restorative healing. Everything's in the description. Also under downloads and digital products under online classes.
then Julianne will be your guide through the Celestial Alignment Journey. And last but not least, you see that on the screen there, the YouTube Visibility Engine. So we have crafted a visibility framework that helps you and your brand and your videos get everywheres very efficiently. And we install the visibility engine in your business in as little as 8 weeks. You can go to IamYouTubeFamous.com to see the different tiers, because we move at your speed. So some students come in, content ready to go. They got a ton of experience. They just need a more efficient workflow. We walk you through making your content production workflow so much easier. The distribution system is super easy to use. It's all web-based. And for other students, it takes longer to implement. It takes longer to implement. We will help you produce high quality video productions just like this show, Too Real, that we're streaming on Monday nights. And
And
you're gonna
especially
bring
with the astrology. Well, especially with astrology, the time period we're in is all about being seen. So if you're If you're not motivated to do it yourself, have us help you be seen. That is going to be a necessity for anything, product, service, or just if you're wanting to be a influencer, you're going to have to be seen. So have a plan in place so you
Video
don't.
content on multiple products at this multiple platforms, and knowing how to use these platforms without spending thousands of hours. We've already done that heavy lifting for you. We've made a very efficient system. We just need you to plug into it and say, wow, I love this. Let's get shows created. We've just brought up the weekly show schedule. So Sundays, as always, the weekly energy forecast. That's the Breathe Within Yoga show, right?
Yep.
Okay. Sundays, 7:11 p.m. Eastern. Thursdays is honestly, though, our weekly astrology and news show, 7 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. This show is the too real, too truth and lie. It's literally it's our version of the Reddit Am I the Asshole series, right? Always Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern. And of course, the show that started everything, YouTube, or now it's called Visibility University, Saturdays 9 a.m. Eastern, where it's really, we're going to talk about content creation and answer all your questions you have about content creation or your podcast, or you're stuck, whatever the case may be. We've been producing shows for years. We've been in the YouTube ecosystem for years. We've been doing broadcast production for years, and we're here to help you broadcast your message and become omnipresent like us.
So join us to ask us questions in as any of our audience members, and we always bring something to teach you as well. So you'll take away something by the end of the session as well.
100%.
Exactly. So thank you so much for joining us for this is our 6th episode of Too Real. So join us again next week, same time, same place. So make sure you do like and subscribe on your way out so you are notified for when we are live. And we will see you here next time. Have a great night.